Good morning, everyone. It is 10:01. We'll get started with the March 26, 2025 License and Variance Board meeting. I'm Richard Garland, the Community Services Administrator for the city. To my left is Bo Jones, the Water and Utilities Director. To his left is Andrea Worthy, the Economic Development Director for the city of Smyrna, and we make up the board for the License and Variance that's going to be hearing your request this morning. With that, we will get started with item A, which is variance request V25-027, allow new construction on substandard lot on land lot 452, 1000 Dell Avenue, PLR Properties Incorporated is the applicant, and this request is being asked to be withdrawn because it's no longer necessary. Do I have a motion to withdraw?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes unanimously. Item B on the agenda is one of three variance requests, and we're probably going to take these a little bit out of order, but we will start with V25-028. Reduce the required parking spaces from 37 to 31 spaces on land lot 810 at 2468 Spring Road. Shazad Parina is the applicant. Ms. Crow, could we get the background, please?
Yes, good morning. Oh, okay, it's on? Okay. Good morning, Caitlin Crow, Planner 1 Community Development. So as you mentioned, we do have three variances for this property, but with your permission, I would like to read the first and third together, and then the second we will do separately, just because we are recommending approval for these first two, but the next one we are recommending denial. So apologies for having that out of order for you this morning. So again, the two that I want to discuss first will be the first variance, which you just read out, V25-028, to reduce the required parking spaces from 37 spaces to 31 spaces. And then the second variance will be V25-030 to reduce the side setback from 10 feet to 4 feet for a dumpster enclosure. So this subject parcel is a 0.32 acre lot located right there at the intersection of Spring Road and Woodruff Drive. The applicant is proposing to completely remodel the interior of the structure, which previously was kind of a car finance office, and they are planning to put a coffee shop at this location. The exterior of the property will remain as is since the impervious coverage is already there. They will be doing minor repairs such as filling potholes and striping, but otherwise it will be maintained as is. The other portion that they will be doing, which will be in the right-of-way, will be adding curb and gutter to this property, but again, that will be in the city right-of-way and outside of their property limits. So since this property is changing from an office space to a restaurant, they do require them to bring up the parking to the current code for a dine-in restaurant. So that does require 37 spaces. However, there's only 11 spaces proposed with the site plan. They do have a shared parking agreement with property directly across the street off Woodruff Drive, which will provide an additional 20 spaces. However, that still is only 31, so we're still missing 6. However, because this is a coffee shop and there is usually a little bit more of a turnover, as these are small items that people are usually grabbing to go, staff is supportive of this request. We also anticipate that there will be more pedestrian traffic from the local community who, again, will not be driving to the facility. Since the property is, again, between Spring Road and Woodruff Drive, which are both fairly well-traveled roads, the property doesn't have too much buildable area. Thus, they do have to put a dumpster enclosure in, and in order for it to be removed from the public eye and moved as far back from the property as possible to allow for as many parking spaces as possible, they are proposing that it be within 4 feet of the side property line. However, because the dumpster enclosure is required for business uses, and we do believe it will be outside of that public eye, we're also supportive of this request. So after reviewing the variance applications, staff does support both of these requests and recommends your approval with the following 6 stipulations. So the first stipulation is our standard stipulation that the approval of the requested variances shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. Number 2, as per section 86-34.1, the dumpster shall be screened from view by a fence or decorative masonry wall 1 foot taller than the dumpster on 3 sides and provide an operable gate for collection. Number 3, a 1,500-gallon grease trap shall be installed. Number 4, the spring road access shall have one-way access and be entry only. Appropriate pavement markings and signage shall be provided. Number 5, new curb and gutter shall be installed on Woodruff Drive to define the entries and exits. Number 6, a 5-foot sidewalk and 2-foot beauty strip shall be installed the length of the property along Woodruff Drive or at the direction of the city engineer. And after all that, I can answer any questions you might have.
I'd have one question. You said the additional parking is across the street?
Correct, across from Woodruff Drive. They will define that a little bit further when they submit for their land disturbance permit. Of course, if this moves forward with approval, but it will be, yes, across the street. And our ordinance does count a shared parking agreement as normal parking spaces, which is why we were able to accommodate the 31 spaces total.
Any other questions from Ms. Krupp? Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you.
We'll call you back up here in just a minute. Is there, or is Mr. Perina present? If you would step to the microphone, please. As you arrive, if you would just state your name for the record so that we make sure we get that.
Yeah. Shazad Purani. And Rahil Huda.
Thank you, guys. You heard the background that Ms. Crow provided. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
For the first 2 variances, no.
Yeah. All right. Are there any questions for the owners?
And the third variance?
Should we?
No, when we talk about C.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No questions. What's the purpose of the coffee shop? Okay. When do you anticipate this opening?
Hopefully fall of 2025.
Okay. All right. I would suggest maybe just sit right here on the first row because we're going to call you up 2 more times, if that's okay. But I think we're good for right now.
Okay, sir.
If y'all would just have a seat right there. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please step to the microphone and do so at this time. Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion to approve with the amendment to stipulation 3 to the traditional 6-month agreement for the under sink 30-gallon grease trap in lieu of the 1,500-gallon grease trap. So motion to approve variance request V25-028 to reduce the required parking spaces from 37 to 31 spaces, land lot 810, located at 8468 Spring Road. Shazad Perina as applicant.
A second.
We have a motion and a second, but before we vote, there were 6 stipulations that were placed on this variance request. The amendment that's being suggested that would be part of what we would approve would be to take out the 1,500-gallon grease trap in lieu of the under-sink grease trap. That being said, all other stipulations, you guys understand that the expectation is you're going to adhere to them and you understand what they are and you're agreeing to that. Okay, all right. And that was a yes for the record. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote on that, please. And that motion passes with the amendment. The next item that we're going to discuss is item D, which is V25-030, which is to reduce the side setback from 10 feet to 4 feet for a dumpster enclosure on land lot 810 at 2468 Spring Road. Shazad Perina as the applicant, and Ms. Crow has already discussed this, the enclosure for the dumpster. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Not at this time.
Okay, any questions about the dumpster? Okay. We, if you guys have anything you'd like to add considering the dumpster? Okay, all right. This is a public hearing. Do you guys have any questions for them? All right. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against variance request V25-030, please do so at this time. Charlie, do you need some sunglasses? Killing you, isn't it? All right. Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V25-029.
3-0.
I'm sorry. We switched it up here just a minute. Motion to approve variance request V25-030, reduce the side setback from 10 feet to 4 feet for a dumpster enclosure located at 2468 Spring Road. Shazad Parana as applicant.
And the same amendment to the stipulations, the same 6 stipulations are attached to this variance request. We'll assume that Mr. Jones is going to ask for the same amendment. Are you going to do so, sir?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. And I didn't
So it
realize
would
y'all
be
wanted me to do that
it
for
would
all
be the
three,
5
so.
stipulations. You guys agree to those stipulations as you have for the previous one.
Can I get some clarification on the entryway? Sorry, just going back. So, Mark, it was recommended that we only have an entrance only on Spring Road. And then we met with Mark again, and then he recommended that it stay entry and exit. Can I get some clarification on that, or was that not discussed again, or?
Claire, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, that was not something that Mark has shared with me since this was done.
Oh, okay.
So with that being said, I will have to keep that on there.
We're okay with keeping it on there, yeah.
If the board feels it is appropriate, you can amend it to say, or at the direction of the city engineer, which is what we did for stipulation number 6. But no, that was not something that was in any way conveyed from the city engineer.
Sure. So it was Mark's request that it be entrance only, right?
That was correct,
Okay,
yes.
so if it's placed as up to city official, then,
It would be the city engineer, which would still be Mark.
okay, perfect,
Yeah.
thanks, okay. Awesome, thanks.
All right, so you're good with the 5 stipulations, or are we going to argue that one? You're good? Okay, all right. All right, we have a motion and a second. And a second, thank you. Let's vote on that one. V25-030 passes unanimously with the amendment. The next variance request that we will discuss is variance request V25-029, eliminate the sidewalk requirement per section 717.131 on land lot 810 at 2468 Spring Road. Shazad Parina is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, the background on this, please.
Yes, again, Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1 Community Development. So yes, this again is for the same property we just discussed, but again, sorry if we're doing it out of order. But this, as you just read out, is V25-029 to eliminate the sidewalk requirement per section 717.131. So to make that a little bit more palatable, that section 717 is for our corridor design districts. This particular property falls under CDD 2, Corridor Design District 2, which is the Spring Road. So the 717.131 is specifically in relation to the sidewalk requirement when a property is redeveloped or developed anew. So this property is being redeveloped from an office space to a coffee shop, which are 2 very different uses, and thus the Community Development Department does view this as a redevelopment. Thus, sidewalk is required along the road frontages. Spring Road currently has a sidewalk, which will remain, and we are requesting that along Woodruff Drive, the sidewalk be extended. So the city engineer, Mark Wolf, has met on site, as the applicant just stated as well as in viewing the site plan, and staff do believe that there is room for the 5-foot sidewalk within the right-of-way to be able to be amended with the property. Additionally, there is a brand new subdivision at the end of Woodruff known as Rowan Walk that is being created. They also have extended their sidewalk to the edge of their property line on Woodruff. And it is the city's desire one day that those be connected as properties redevelop, or the interest is there to continue that sidewalk. Thus, we'll have connectivity from that subdivision in the rear all the way to Spring Road. Also, we have had direction from mayor and council that they would like to see this be a pedestrian area as well along Woodruff, and to have the sidewalk extended. Thus, we do not feel that there is any inconvenience for this property, and thus it's not a hardship to be able to put this sidewalk on the property. So after reviewing the variance application, staff does recommend denial for this particular variance, with no stipulations, as it would be the denial. If you have any questions, I am here as well.
To date, have you had any, have we had any other requests related to this 717 code?
For these, no, we have not. So if what you're getting at is no, there's no precedence to allow
Okay.
for this type
Yeah.
of elimination.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was asking. Thanks for reading the tea leaves there. Any questions from Ms. Crowe? All right,
All right, thank you.
thank you. You guys want to step back up to the microphone?
Can I get some clarification on the last question that was just asked to Caitlin?
That I asked?
Yeah.
Have we had a variance request related to section 717.131 to date?
Okay.
So we haven't. This is the first one that we'll hear. All right.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this. Overall, we fully support responsible infrastructure improvements, but we believe that this specific requirement, specifically on Woodruff, will cause undue hardship for us. It's not necessary based on the specific location and current pedestrian patterns, and it actually may introduce a safety hazard that we're trying to avoid. Number one, undue hardship. The cost of constructing a sidewalk would be a significant financial burden on our business to open and operate sustainably and successfully. Unlike large-scale developments that budget for infrastructure improvements, we are a small business with limited margins and limited resources. The added cost of sidewalk construction would stretch our budget beyond what we initially anticipated. And the sidewalk requirement does disproportionately affect us as individual business owners rather than a larger city-planned infrastructure initiative. Number two, lack of necessity. The surrounding area currently lacks pedestrian sidewalks. There is a sidewalk on Spring Road. That's great. We're not trying to touch anything of that. For Woodruff, there is currently nothing there, and this would result in a standalone sidewalk that just ends abruptly. There's a glass store right attached to ours with parking that they use where our sidewalk would be. So adding just one extra strip for that side, we think is unnecessary. Again, we want there to be walkability. However, we think this is more of a piecemeal approach rather than something that can be done all in one. Safety concerns. Again, this sidewalk, if we add it to our property line, would just end abruptly. There will be nowhere for it to actually connect to. The project at Rowan, if they're able to connect the sidewalk that connects to ours, that's great. However, for now, there's about 1,000 feet of separation between where our sidewalk would be and where that community would be. Again, we want to be able to have direct access to that community. We would love that. However, there's currently not anything over there, and us adding a small sidewalk might actually encourage more pedestrian walkways towards that currently un-sidewalk inhabited area. So we think it encourages movement in an area not currently designed for safe foot traffic. So in conclusion, we respectfully request that the sidewalk requirement be waived in this case, as it imposes financial hardship, lack of necessity due to surrounding infrastructure, and may introduce unintended safety risks. We're open to revisiting sidewalk implementation if future development changes pedestrian patterns in the area, but as currently constructed, we would continue to request the variance to waive that.
Questions of the owners?
I do have one question. From a cost perspective, more of a directive instead of, I'm gonna make a motion to deny this, or approve the denial. And the reason being is, we took away the 1,500-gallon grease trap, and that should suffice for the actual sidewalk install. And just so y'all know, the city does connectivity projects through the SPLOST. So when there's a sidewalk existing there and a sidewalk existing at the bottom, we try to connect those two in a sense. So that's the reason they're requesting this. We request all development to do that. So through the connectivity program, we can accomplish that. So just so y'all know, it's not a sidewalk to nowhere. It may be for a while, but that's typically how the city handles that. But the cost of the grease trap should, you know, set aside enough for you guys to actually install this.
And we appreciate the cost of the grease trap and you guys negating that. That was something that was discussed on the first meeting, and it seems like, you know, it was going to be granted regardless, but it's being framed as it's being granted in,
Like now.
like, yeah, bartering for this? Is that?
No, it's
Okay.
not the barter. I don't believe that y'all need a grease trap in a coffee shop, but I'm saying, you know, you're talking about not wanting to put in a sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm telling you why the city actually requires that.
Yeah.
Because of connectivity, but just trying to say from a financial hardship that you're speaking of, this should help suffice for that is what I'm getting at.
So I don't know if
So
this
there's
is
no bartering with
Yeah,
that.
I got you. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask for this. So we did request, the city owns a little bit of land that's right next to our property that can allow us to add 2 additional parking spaces. But Mark, the city engineer, did not approve that. It doesn't hinder anything with the city. So I wanted to see if maybe if we can get those 2 parking spaces, we'd be happy to, you know, accommodate anything that the city wants. It would just eliminate any pedestrian traffic going across the street as we have more parking in our parking lot.
Unfortunately, I don't think that would be something that would be our purview.
Yeah.
For us to be able to, I would encourage you maybe to circle back around with community development.
Okay.
And see if they can help direct that a little bit better. It's just not something that we're,
Okay.
you know, we're kind of narrowly focused on the variances that are being requested based on the code that's on the book, so.
Okay, understood.
And the one that we're discussing here is whether or not we adhere to the code that says you as a builder have to build the sidewalk in this section because our future hope is that we have full connectivity along that stretch. Or whether or not we say, no, you don't have to do that, even though we've said we want this done.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're weighing at this point. This sidewalk, how does it, and I don't have the image of the lot in my head. How does this connect with the parking that's across the street? This would facilitate people coming from that parking, correct? They would be able to step to the sidewalk?
There's currently nothing there that prevents anyone from, there's like the curb. That's pretty much the only thing there. We would try to find ways of how to actually best make that happen. I don't think adding a sidewalk does a benefit or negates anything of that to make it easier or make it more complex. I do have a question, if I can. What is the timeline for trying to make those 2 connect if we were to add our side? Does
Well,
it speed it up a little bit more, knowing that the section on our side is already built? Does it incentivizes you guys
What
to?
I was getting, there's not necessarily a timeline, but the city overall has a connectivity plan, and that would be part of that plan. The timing of that plan, I couldn't tell you. We do this year in, year out during the SPLOST, the connectivity to allow pedestrian traffic, you know, to walk safely from one neighborhood or roadway to another. So when these things are installed, it becomes part of that connectivity. But like I said, the timeline, I don't know the timeline on
Yeah,
that. So.
and I bring that up again. The property next to ours, you know, they have constant parking issues as well. So a lot of them park their cars where our sidewalk would abruptly end, like right at the corner of our property. Following that, it's a number of townhomes that I don't think they have any way of putting a sidewalk there at all. It's kind of a very uneven ground with a lot of trees and issues. So again, that just kind of raises my concern of additional safety of, hey, look, there's a sidewalk here, let's take our stroller, turn down this road, and then it just kind of ends to an uphill, very narrow road. So I wanted to just kind of emphasize that it's more of the safety concerns that we're kind of focusing on, and then potentially we're a liability of leading them towards that route.
Is there a question, Brad?
I'm just trying to reemphasize my point of hoping that we can get
Yeah,
over
and
that.
that'll be, that's up to the city, how how we install that, and that's not what this variance is about or anything that y'all need to worry about in a sense, so. But I do know that those connectivities do happen based off of development like this, so.
Okay.
The other thing that I would say is that I think the city will will act quicker as we see these pieces coming into place rather than let's not do it now kind of deal. So I think, I think it really kind of starts the clock ticking as much as anything else, that you all adhere to this. It is an initiative of the city for this to be, for that sidewalk to exist. So probably speed that timetable up. All right. Anything else you guys would like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. We'll get to that in just a second. Okay. All right. This, if you would like to have a seat, you can have a seat. This is a
Thank you for your time.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against, you may do so at this time by stepping to the microphone. And you'll have 3 minutes once you arrive and state your name.
You want me to say my name?
Yes, sir.
Sal Parani.
Okay.
I just want to ask, is this being rezoned from a GC to mixed use? It's not. Okay. The only reason I ask is because it seems like coffee shop is under mixed use. So I just want to make sure that down the road it doesn't become an issue. Like, wait, this is not the right zoning. Should be a mixed use while it's a GC currently.
No, a coffee shop is considered a restaurant, and restaurants aren't allowable use in GC. Otherwise, we would not be having this conversation. It would have been a rezoning. So, no,
Got
a
it.
coffee
Okay.
shop is an allowable use under the general commercial zoning district.
Okay. I just want to clarify because it does specifically say coffee shop as mixed use. So just wanted to clarify. Cool. Thanks. I'm the owner. The brother.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to deny variance request V25-029 to eliminate the sidewalk requirement per section 717.131 located at 2468 Spring Road. Shazad Parana as applicant.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Did I vote correctly or incorrectly?
Okay, that denial did pass. Next item on the agenda is variance request V25-031, allow additional accessory structure on land lot 242 at 1410 Mosswood Lane. Jacob King is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, could we get the background, please?
All right. Again, Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1 Community Development. So this variance, as you just read out, is V25-031 to allow additional accessory structures. So this subject parcel is nearly half an acre located on the south side of Mosswood Lane. So the property is currently occupied by a two-story single-family home, as well as a shed and a tree house. There's also kind of a permanent dog cage on the property as well. So it is currently non-conforming with additional accessory structures more than the one that is allowed per single-family home. So the applicant is proposing to install a new in-ground swimming pool as well as a cabana on the property, which right there is two accessory structures, both the cabana and the pool. So when they submitted, they have also determined that they will be removing that permanent dog cage as well as the shed in the rear yard, but they will be maintaining that tree house as that is something that the family has built together, and each of these uses will be a different type of recreational use on the property with the pool, cabana, and tree house. All of these are going to be located in the rear yard, and there is an existing 5-foot wooden fence that surrounds the property, so there'll be limited views from the public right-of-way. So thus, after reviewing the application, staff is supportive of the request and does recommend your approval with just the standard stipulation. The variance is, or the approval of the requested variance is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. And as always, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. The owners present? Yes, sir. Y'all would step to the microphone, please. Just before you get started, since you missed a meeting last night, we're just going to deny this without any further conversation.
was
I
coaching
understand,
them.
I understand your kid had a baseball game, but that's no excuse.
Yeah. We did get the win.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. You guys have heard the background that Ms. Crowe has provided. Is there anything else that you'd like to provide?
Yes, sir, thank you for your time. I'm the contractor on behalf of Mr. Rogers. And like Ms. Crowe said, we've worked strenuously with her to make sure that everything is in tune, and we will be removing the shed and the dog cage. The other accessory structure of the tree house is, less than, I think it's about 80 square feet impervious. It's not a large structure by any means. The pool and everything will be done in sync, so the pavilion will be covering the deck, so it's not adding any impervious surface in and of itself. It'll just be on the existing pool deck. And then it will be confined to their backyard squarely behind the house, so it won't be unsightly. So we do feel like the request is very reasonable.
Okay. And you heard the stipulations attached to this variance request, and you guys,
Yes, sir, with our construction, we'll make sure that everything is followed to the letter.
awesome. Very good. Any questions for the owner?
Is this a container pool?
No. This one isn't.
This one
It's
isn't?
a gunite in-ground pool. Yeah.
Disregard.
Got one coming. Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I motion to approve V25-031, a variance request to allow an additional accessory structure in land lot 242 at 1410 Mosswood Lane, Jacob King, the applicant.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the pool.
Container or not, right? Either way. Variance, the next item on the agenda is variance request V25-032. Allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot surface setback on land lot 458 at 951 Reed Road. Sean Seymour is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, the background, please.
Yes, thank you. Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1 Community Development. So, again, as you just read out, V25-032 to allow that encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback. So this subject parcel is currently a 0.41 acre lot located right there near the intersection of Reed Road and Woodland Pass. Now, I stress that that is the current square footage of the property, because actually in conjunction with this variance application, the applicant has submitted a combination plat with the adjacent property at 941 Reed Road to create one overall parcel. The applicant, even prior to submitting, did own both pieces, but they were considered two separate lots. Once recorded, the lot will be about 0.84 acres, which we'll talk about here in a minute about elimination of other variances. So both of these parcels were actually platted back in 1959, which is way before the current stream buffer ordinance, which was implemented back in 2005. So back in November of this past year, November 2024, about almost a 200 square foot accessory structure was built right on the lines of both of these properties. Because the applicant did not require a permit, since it was right under the 200 square feet, they were unaware that they also needed to obtain variances for this structure, and thus code enforcement got involved. Very quickly, the applicant did turn around and speak with staff and was able to submit for this application as well as that combination plat. So, as I mentioned, they were in the middle of erecting nearly a 200 square foot accessory structure on the property, but the property is greatly encumbered by the state's 25-foot stream buffer and both the city's 50-foot and 75-foot stream buffers. So this, a portion of the accessory structure was within that 75-foot impervious surface setback, and thus did require mitigation as part of this request. The combination plat that they submitted also has some buffer averaging, showing an extension of that 75-foot impervious setback from where it was encroaching with this shed to a separate section on the property. And once that plat is recorded, the mitigation will also be in effect there. The city engineer has reviewed this application and does believe that it is in line with the Blue Book standards for mitigation. So once the parcels are combined, no additional variances will be required. In fact, this will actually bring the house itself a little bit more conforming into current code, because as it sits right now, a portion of the existing home is also within the side setback. Once those parcels are combined, the side setback moves with the parcel and will thus no longer need that type of variance either. Community development believes that other than building without the proper variance, this hardship was not self-created, as the stream buffers and the home existed prior to 2005, when our stream buffer ordinance again was implemented. So after reviewing the variance application, staff is recommending your approval with the following two stipulations. The first is our standard approval of the approval is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevation submitted with the variance application. And number two, the combination plat approved back on February 27th, 2025 shall be recorded with the Cobb County Superior Court to combine the subject parcel and neighboring property and show the extension of the impervious surface setback. And I can answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Ms. Crowe?
All
Thank you,
right,
ma'am.
thank you.
The owner present? Yep. You don't have to run, it's not Price is Right.
Thank you. Good morning. Sean Seymour.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You heard the background that Ms. Crowe provided. Is there any information that you'd like to add to that?
Next time I'm going to do a lot more research and be more diligent, because obviously there were things that I wasn't of the understanding. But hopefully I've kind of made amends with coming in and trying to be a lot more proactive with getting this mitigated and ultimately making the community look a lot nicer as well.
Are there any questions for the owner? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against variance request V25-032, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V25-032, allow encroachment in the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback located at 951 Reed Road. Sean Seymour is applicant.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, but before we vote, Mr. Seymour, there were two stipulations that Ms. Crowe mentioned. You understand what those two stipulations are, and you agree to adhere to those stipulations? Yes, sir. Thank you. Now we can vote. I'm going to have to tattoo it on my forehead. That's all that's going to help. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is variance request V25-033, allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback on land lot 488 at 1071 Bank Street. Codell Jackson is the owner. Ms. Crowe, the background. Looks like we have two. Playing, didn't you?
So sorry.
We have two requests on this particular property. You'll give us the background on both of those requests, and then we'll vote on each one of them separately. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that is correct. Again, for the last time today, Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1 Community Development. So the first variance you read out was V25-033 to allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback. And the second one that we'll do today together is V25-034 to allow encroachment into the city's 50-foot undisturbed stream buffer. So this subject parcel is nearly half an acre, located right at the intersection of Bank Street and Guthrie Street. So the applicant currently has a building permit to renovate the interior of the existing property. And as part of that overall renovation, they are also looking to put in an above-ground container pool on this property. This property is, just like the last one, severely encumbered by the state's 25-foot stream buffer and then the city's 50 and 75-foot stream buffers. and the swimming pool is in both of those stream buffers. So no other variances are needed to build this pool. They are well outside of the setbacks as well as well below the impervious coverage, just due to the size of the lot. However, in order to build this pool, they did need to also put mitigation on the property, and they chose the same route as the previous applicant with buffer averaging. So to do this, they are extending both the 50 and 75-foot buffers from where they were encroaching with this new swimming pool and putting it in the front of the property and extending those buffers. So just like the last applicant, they will need to replat this property to show these formalized buffers. So any future property owners will have the same limits on the property. The city engineer has also reviewed this application and is also supportive of this mitigation method. Community development believes that this hardship is not self-created because, again, this stream has existed prior to this home being built, as well as it was platted just later in the year. The property was platted in 2005 in February, but the buffer ordinance came in later that fall. So unfortunately, it was a close call on this one. So after reviewing this variance application, staff does recommend your approval for both variances as well, with the following two stipulations. The first, of course, is our standard. Approval is conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. And number two, a plat shall be submitted to the city for approval and subsequently recorded with the Cobb County Superior Court to show the extension of the undisturbed buffer and impervious surface setback prior to issuance of the building permit. And I can answer any questions.
Questions for Ms. Crowe?
Not for Ms. Crowe, but Claire after the meeting.
Oh, yes, and I should mention, I know you said after the meeting, but we do have Clara Hodges here. She is our engineering plans reviewer in case there are any questions specifically about the mitigation plan. So thank you, Beth, for recognizing her.
Sorry, Claire, didn't mean to call you out like that.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. The owner present? Hoping that you guys, yeah, it'd be great. If you would state your name for the record, please.
Sloan McCarvage.
And Sarah McCarvich. Codell Jackson is the contractor, not the owner.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
And
You heard the
hello.
background that Ms. Crowe provided. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
Well, first off, thank you all very, very much. We have been displaced from our home now for almost 34 weeks. And I cannot thank the city of Smyrna enough for stepping in and guiding us. The gentleman who was doing the mitigation plan, I don't think he fully understood what was going on, but you all really helped, so thank you both. We will adhere to whatever needs to be done. This is an above-ground shipping container pool, but whatever needs to be done, just let us know, and we will continue to do.
Well, there were two stipulations that Ms. Crowe mentioned, and you guys heard those stipulations. You agreed to adhere to those stipulations as well?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, any questions for the owners?
I've got one. Based off the site plan and our GIS mapping, are y'all, I assume a crane will be on site to
Yes, sir.
swing the container pool over. Just be aware in the driveway area and the weight of that crane, there is that sewer that runs across through there, but if y'all can maintain that in the roadway, not telling you how to do that, but just be aware that it's there and the weight.
Understood.
those things.
Fortunately, I do have some rigging experience, so no one
Okay,
working with
cool,
here
cool.
that's 8,500-pound lift, so not terribly too bad. They'll have plenty of foundation pads out on the outriggers. so
That was
that'll
my
be a
next question, how much the container pool weighs, but that was just from a personal preference. But
Yeah. And
I'm putting one in
Bo
myself.
wants to
really?
move in.
They're
As soon as you
pretty
guys
Well,
get back in, Bo
one
wants to
thing,
come
make
swim
sure
in
you
your
actually order
container
from the U.S. because this is actually being held up in Canada, and now we're subject to a
Okay.
25% tariff on top of it now.
Oh, my.
So,
Again,
Good
the
times.
joys of 34 weeks.
yep, didn't plan on that one.
We don't have the ability to issue a variance on that. So that also is outside of the ability of this committee. All right, any other questions for the owners?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and did you all need any of the paperwork or copies of anything? Oh, okay.
This is one of two, so don't take off just yet. We'll do the second one and go through the same motions. So this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against variance request V 25-033, you may do so at this time. Let the record show there is no one left in the auditorium for that purpose. We will entertain a motion.
I motion to approve V 25-033, a variance request to allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback in land lot 488 at 1071 Bank Street. Codell Jackson, the applicant.
Second motion.
Have a motion and a second, please vote. And that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is variance request V 25-034, allow encroachment into the city's 50-foot undisturbed stream buffer on land lot 488 at 1071 Bank Street. Cadell Jackson is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, any additional background on this request?
Not at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe on this request? Okay. Any additional information from the owners on this request? Okay. The same two stipulations that applied to the first one apply to this one, and you guys agreed to adhere to those stipulations as well. Thank you. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V 25-034, allow encroachment into the city's 50-foot undisturbed stream buffer located at 1071 Bank Street. Codell Jackson as applicant.
Have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes as well. Good luck. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the March 12th, 2025 License and Variance Board Meeting Minutes, designated as MIN 2025-059. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and a second, please vote. That motion passes unanimously. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time?
No, sir.
Hearing none, we will adjourn.
I enjoyed that one.